Today's class, we're going to be doing a lot of shoulder openers, some back care, and some hip openers, because those are probably the things that are sore if you're sitting more than usual, if you happen to not be traveling to work. So we're going to start in a few minutes, let people kind of wander in. We're going to be starting in child's pose. And doing a lot of shoulder and back care, and then moving into some hip work. And we won't be spending a lot of time off the ground in class today, mostly on our hands and knees and on our backs, just for a little bit of a sun salutation. So I wanted to share this. I was reading out of my yoga anatomy book this week, this book. Trying to figure out kind of what's the best thing for what people are saying is hurting the most. And I just love stuff on spines. I find them completely fascinating. And I just find all the stuff on how amphibians only have like lateral movement because they have a straight spine. Some animals have one curve or two curves, but we have four. It's so interesting. So we'll be moving, mostly trying to do our thoracic, that middle for our shoulders, and then we'll be doing a lot of sacral, so a lot of hip openers to try to open up those parts of our spine that get stiff. So I'm going to turn a little music on just so that my dog doesn't respond to hearing static from the laptop. He barked the whole last class, so to put him outside. I will put him outside if he's annoying us. So if you want to start straight away into child's pose, whether or not you like your arms behind you or you like your arms in front of you, whatever feels most comfortable to start. Make sure you can see me. Actually, you can go up a little bit probably. All right. So in child's pose, we're going to start here for a full minute, just coming to the awareness of our breath and what's going on with our breath in this pose, not necessarily changing anything, but just starting to observe. Maybe is our breath even? Uncommon that it's even the same amount in as it is out. So noticing maybe are you exhaling longer or are you inhaling longer? Just kind of doing an inventory to start with and seeing what naturally changes. Often when we pay attention to our breath, we slow it down, and that's okay. If that's just what naturally without effort happens, that's something you should be doing, your body's telling you to. For 30 more seconds, just noticing our breath, relaxing into child's pose. Just to start some slow lateral movements to stretch out our spine. We're going to stay in child's pose and just tent up our fingers. If our hands are behind us, bring them in front of us. Reaching straight out, tenting our fingers to our fingertips so that our wrists are hovering above the ground a few inches. And then just slowly walking your hands to the left so that you feel a stretch on your right side body. Noticing if this changes your breath, if you have to make more of an effort to breathe. Staying here for 10 more seconds. And on your next inhale, walking your hands back to center, flatten your palms out and pushing on the ground so that your hips are sent back a little bit closer to your feet. If you're a person that has really tight hips, you can always put a blanket or a couch cushion or a pillow between your feet and your butt so that you can find a bit of a stretch there. Then slowly tenting those fingers again, lifting up our wrists above the ground as we walk to the right to stretch out the left side.
Ain't nowhere to run. There ain't nothing here for free.
Staying here for 2 more complete inhale and exhale breaths.
Waiting for a train.
On your next inhale, coming to the middle. Again, flattening your palms on the ground to see if you can go a little further in. Noticing if your knees are really close together, bring them out wide as the mat. And then come back down for that push to start to open up your shoulders and the middle of your back. 2 more deep breaths here. Moving nice and slow in class today. You're going to do an extra bit of stretching and holding poses. On your next inhale, coming up, walking your hands back towards your knees. Finding some height in thunder pose. If this hurts your knees, again, having a cushion below you, a block or a pillow under your butt to lift you up. And finding some height, imagining that there's a string pulling your head above, like a marionette, so you're nice and tall, but keeping your chin parallel to the ground, not tipping it up to the sky or all the way down to your chest. And with that height, keeping your spine nice and tall, we're going to do some neck rolls, dropping your chin to your chest, left ear to left shoulder, looking up to the sky, right ear to right shoulder, and down. Moving just this slow or slower if you need to. Continuing the circle for the next few breaths. And then pairing that breath so that when you're looking down, you're exhaling. When you're looking up, you're inhaling. Eyes open or closed, whatever feels good. The next time that your right ear comes to your right shoulder, taking your time, we're going to leave it stretched there. To find some more opening, we're going to put our right hand over our head so that our fingertips are touching the tops of our ears. And then with your left hand, you can either just put your hand on your collarbone, encouraging your shoulder to stay down, or you can actually use your hand to stretch out some of the muscles in your neck or your shoulder that might feel tense or sore. I think it's a tendency in human nature to shrug our shoulders up when we're anxious, whether we're at home and out of our routine, or we're still working and we're feeling anxious being around other people. So just find those tender spots in your neck or your shoulders. Show them some attention and care. And dropping both hands back down and continue rolling your neck in the opposite direction. So right ear to right shoulder, looking up. Left ear to left shoulder, looking down. Pairing that breath to exhale when you look down and inhale when you look up. This is great to do at the end of the day, but it could be something we're doing a few times a day, given the stress that everyone's experiencing. The next time that your left ear comes to your left shoulder, pausing, doing that same stretch where your left hand comes up and over your head, fingertips touching your ears. And again, if you want to stretch out your right side of your neck with a little bit of massage, or just holding down your collarbone or shoulder to remind yourself to keep that drop in the right shoulder. On your next exhale, dropping those hands down and continuing to roll your neck. Just about 3 or 4 more times so you feel even again. Next time your chin comes to the middle, pausing. We're going to be coming to all fours for some cat-cow. Consistent movement between the two. Whether you like to tuck your toes or keep them flat, we're all going to start in cat, rolling your shoulders back, down your back, looking down to your navel. Inhaling to drop for cow, looking up to the sky, and allowing your belly to drop down to the ground. And then reversing that and going at whatever pace feels good for you. If you're new to cat and cow, just a reminder, when you're curling your back up and looking to the ground, you're exhaling. When you're dropping that belly down and looking up, you're inhaling. Pausing the next time you come to the middle. And then practicing some lateral movements. So we'll be keeping a neutral spine so that we're not dipping our belly or bringing it up to the sky, but we're gonna look to the left, trying to look at our left hip and pushing our hip out so that we can see it a little easier. Inhaling to come to neutral and then exhaling on the right side. Inhaling to neutral, exhaling to the left. And continuing to move like this. Last week, I was taking a Yoga International website class, and one of the teachers, Rocky, showed I'd never seen before how to pair these movements together. So we are going to bring these 2 sets of movements together. Pausing in neutral, we're going to look over our left side, go into cat, look over our right side, and then into cow. Left side, cat, right side, cow. Continue doing this in a circle. Doing this for 2 more cycles. Pausing at neutral, and then just reversing for 3 cycles. So to the right, cat, to the left, cow. Right, cat, left, cow. I'm doing this one more time. Bringing our feet together, knees wide. We're going to thread the needle. Bringing our left hand up to the sky, and then threading that below our right elbow. Finding a cushion underneath your shoulder if you can't quite reach. And feeling comfortable leaning back, almost into child's pose if that's what feels good, or keeping your butt up in the air, whichever one gives you the more comfortable twist, where you feel like you're not in pain, but you're still really working something out there. Returning to a deeper inhale and exhale. Maybe not your fullest inhale and exhale, but just enough to keep the breath even. Two more breaths here, facing to the right and threading the needle. On your next inhale, reaching that left hand back up to the sky, and then planting it firmly on the ground. And then the reverse, lifting that right hand up to the sky, threading it below your left hand and down, but in the air or on your feet, whatever feels better. And a cushion under your shoulder if you cannot quite reach the ground. Finding a slow, steady, even breath.
It's my window, bringing back sweet memories. Hey, window, do you remember?
On your next inhale, lifting that right hand back up to reach towards the right side of the room or the sky. And then all fours down on the ground. We're gonna do some puppy pose, which looks a lot like child's pose, kind of with your butt in the air. So we're gonna start in all fours and slowly walking your hands out, but trying to keep your hips still up in the air. And lowering your chest down to the ground. Some people like to look forward and put their chin on the mat. If that really pricks your neck, you don't have to do that. You can put your forehead down like in child's pose. Finding a slow, steady breath here. For some people, this is a lot of extra work. Feeling free to drop your elbows down if you need that extra support to stay in the pose. And again, like we were in child's pose, staying here, but slowly walking your hands to the left. Now, since your hips up in the air, you can go pretty far, further out than your mat, but you can feel that stretch on the right side of your waist all the way up to your shoulder. And seeing how close you can get to putting your heart on the ground. Lifting on the inhale, Walking back to neutral, making sure your hips are even before going over to the right. My dog just did puppy pose. Coming back to neutral in the middle, and then very slowly walking your hands up, back to tabletop. We're going to find some balancing in our back muscles. Staying on all fours, we're going to balance between our right and left hand, or hand and foot. Bring our right foot back, straight back, with our toes curled, almost like we are in plank pose, so that we're finding a stretch from our heel all the way up to the back of our hip, starting out a bit of a calf stretch. Now, keeping the height in your back, you can either bring your left hand out to touch or up above your ear so that your hand is the same line as your back. And then if you like to lift your right foot, either a few inches off the ground or again the same height as your back, not higher. Using a slow, even breath to keep this up for 2 more breaths. Slowly dropping that foot down, and then our hand to match the right hand. Coming back to hands and knees. And doing 1 cat and cow before we try on the other side. Bring that left foot out, again curling your toes as if you're in runner's lunge or you're in plank, and finding that stretch in your calf. We're only going to be doing a few downward dogs in this practice, so allowing this to be our stretch for our calves to start. Bringing that right hand out in front of you to balance you while you lift your foot up. And lifting your hand and feet, whichever combination you feel like is good on this side. Finding once everything is lifted evenly, there's almost a buoyancy, like something is both pulling you up and pulling you down at the same time. 2 more deep breaths here. Exhaling to drop that foot down, and then the hand to meet in the middle, back to tabletop for another cat-cow. Practicing again that on the right side. Same practice, taking your time, doing whatever pieces feel like a good fit for you, and lingering in whatever pieces you need. Once everything is lifted, 3 long, deep breaths. And whenever you're ready to drop back down, meeting all together in tabletop. 1 more cat-cow before trying the other side. And then setting up for the left foot back and the right foot forward. Again, yogi's choice, whatever you're looking for doing on this side. Whatever you might choose to lift up for 3 breaths. And on your 3rd breath, exhaling down, returning to cat-cow, and a knees wide child's pose. Coming down to stretch all that warmth out. Staying here for 2 deep breaths. Coming back up. We're going to do that one more time on each side with the option to grab your foot behind you and lift up into half bowl. So that would look like bringing your foot out straight, bending it, and playing with either reaching or using a scarf, a belt, a blanket, anything that you might need to grab that foot. And practicing whatever level of that you want to, even if it's not grabbing your foot on the right side. Using a slow, steady breath to keep up what's ever up. And on a third breath again, or before if you need, coming down. Back to cat-cow before playing with that on the opposite side. And then playing on the opposite side, bring that left foot out, the right hand forward. And again, reaching back or lifting. We'll be back in 2 seconds once my dog goes outside. Wherever you're at, if you're not already in tabletop, coming on down and meeting us in neutral. We're going to do some frog pose. For some people, you might want a pillow or a cushion to go right above your hips so that you can lift up. Or to go in the middle, you need some support for a hip opener. So bringing your knees wide, just a little bit wider than the mat. If you're on hardwood floor, you will want to go this way just so you grip. So bring the knees wide and then the ankles as wide or even a little bit wider than your knees. And either staying here if you have tight hips, maybe again putting a cushion under you to support you. We're going to be relaxing into this pose a little bit. So it might be helpful to have a bolster, a pillow, a bunch of blankets, whatever it is. And if you like to come down to your elbows, it won't increase your hip stretch. If anything, it kind of gives you some support. Finding a slow and steady breath here. Keeping us in a pose that's often uncomfortable to stay in. We'll be here just for about 3 more breaths. Slowly walking yourself back up, bringing those knees in and close together, feet touching in and sitting into Thunderbolt. So again, as we were stretching our neck, sitting nice and tall, finding our collarbones rolling back and down, our shoulder blades behind us. And with that same openness, we're going to bring our arms in front of us and then bend. We're going to stack one above the other, so the left elbow over top of the right elbow, keeping that lift. If your arms don't come together like this or to clasp, you can always reach as far as you can. Either way, you're going to feel a stretch between your shoulder blades. Finding a slow and steady breath. Sitting up nice and tall and seeing if you can inch your elbows a few inches higher. This will tilt your hands towards your face. That's totally okay. To be expected. And then with that same lift, twisting to the right so that our elbows are twisting to the right of the room. And allowing our necks to follow that twist. Inhale to lift those elbows up. Slowly exhaling to the middle. Inhale to lift. And exhale to the left. This is probably the harder direction because of the way our elbows are stacked. One more breath here before coming back to neutral. Exhaling to neutral. And bringing those arms out and wiggling them. Feeling if there's any numbness sometimes happens from that pose. We're going to reverse that again. Bring our arms out in front of us. And bending them. Bringing this time our right elbow over our left. Clasping again, touching, or just reaching as close as possible. Inhale to lift, nice and tall. And exhale to the left. Remembering to keep a slow, even breath so that you're not holding your breath at any one pose. Exhale to neutral in the middle. Inhale to lift. And exhale this time to the right. Again, this is probably not as far as you'll go on the other side. Exhale back to neutral. Drop those arms and wiggle them out. We're going to come back to our mat where we're facing the normal direction. And we're going to come up to standing. So that might look like plank or bent knees and just walking forward. Standing into a forward fold and just letting our heads drop, the weight of our heads, bringing our fold a little bit deeper. Shaking our heads yes and no to release any tension. If you feel comfortable staying here for another minute, you're welcome to grab both elbows, swinging and bending your knees from the left to the right to really warm up the backs of our legs. If this is too much to stay in forward fold, you're welcome to stand up and meet us in mountain pose when we're done with our fold. Dropping those hands down and slowly lifting yourself up, having your head be the last piece to come up. We're going to do some wood choppers, which is just continuous forward fold, but with really bent knees. So we'll be reaching up to inhale, bending our knees on the way down to exhale, coming into whatever forward fold is comfortable for you, touching your feet or your ankles or your shins. Inhaling again with bent knees to lift. And then just continuing this movement to exhale, forward fold, and inhale to lift. As slow or as fast as you need to. Continuing to warm up the spine, stretch out our lower back and the backs of our legs. Continuing to move like this for 30 more seconds. That means you need to slow down, take your time, or speed up if you like. The next time that you come up, taking your time, meeting with hands at heart center, and finding a deep breath. If you can find a wall near you, you don't have to clear the space, because all we'll be doing is keeping our hands up. We're going to be standing. So any wall you want to go to, we're going to do some shoulder openers to start. So putting our right hand flat on the wall so that we're still facing the wall. We're going to turn ourselves out to the left. So again, facing the wall, just lifting your right hand flat onto the wall and then rolling to the left. So we're opening our right shoulder. Oh. Right hand facing the wall and then rolling out. See if that's helpful. Face the wall, right hand flat, and then roll to the left so that your arm is all the way behind you. If you have a shoulder injury, not pushing this very far, but just opening up a little bit like this, any amount helps. I'm going to stay here for 2 more breaths and then reverse the side. And then use the wall for 1 more pose. On your next exhale, rolling back in, dropping both arms down. Bring that left hand up again. Put your palm on the actual wall. And then rolling out to the right so that you're stretching your left arm. One more deep, long breath here. And then unrolling. Then we're going to do a downward dog stretch on the wall. I think this will catch me. So you're going to be facing the wall, and your feet will be about the arm's length distance apart. So you should be able to stand up straight and keep your hands flat on the wall. And then what we're going to do is drop our head down as we slowly just inch our feet back. Back, back, back. And drop our head below our arms, keeping our arms up high like they were. Your feet only maybe will move a whole foot back total. You'll feel that stretch all the way down your back, as if this is similar to being in downward dog. With a little bit less of stretch in your leg, it's mostly all in your back. This is a great pose when you're pregnant and you have those back pains, but downward dog pushes your belly too far into your legs to be able to reach for a stretch. Finding slow and even breaths here for about 3 more breath cycles. Lifting on that 3rd breath, slowly bring your head up and then walking your feet up. And then returning to your mat for a few sun salutations. Just a few before we come back on our back for some more restorative work. So I can't ever quite get my whole body. Let's see if we can do it. Meeting at the front of the mat with hands at heart center. Lifting on an inhale, our hands to the sky. And then bringing our hands back to heart center as an exhale. Lifting for the inhale. And then folding all the way down on the exhale to reach shins, ankle, or ground. Inhale, then lift halfway up so our back is flat like a table and we're looking out to the horizon. Exhaling to forward fold again, deep. Inhaling to walk your feet back, either to plank or tabletop. And then exhaling to bring yourself all the way onto your belly. Inhaling to baby cobra, cobra up dog, wherever you're ready to go. Exhaling to come down. Inhaling to plank or tabletop. And exhaling either to child's pose or downward dog. This practice, this class, if there's no need for downward dog for you or it's not somewhere you like to go, you can always go in child's pose. Walking your feet forward in the inhale and exhaling forward fold. Lifting your whole self up on the inhale to reach the sky. And exhaling, hands at heart center. You're going to do that again very slow, and I'm simply going to call out inhale and exhale. Inhale. 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 Exhale. We're going to do that one more time on each side, but we're going to lengthen our breath to 2 complete inhales and exhales per pose, holding it nice and slow. Inhale. Exhale, 2 complete breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And we're going to all come down to child's pose for 2 long breaths. We're going to come into pigeon pose. You might want a pillow or cushion for under your hip. Or I'm going to show you a seated version if any version of this laying down half pigeon doesn't feel good. So we'll be bringing our right foot flat, whether our toes are pointed to the back of the room or we want to wiggle them up. Finding what space we can between our thighs and yet at the same time pulling them together to lift us up. We're going to stay up for a beat, so if you want to put some support under your hip, like I have a pillow here. Using all of your inner thigh muscles and your core to keep you tall before coming down for the stretch. Walking your hands in front of you, either staying here, maybe putting a pillow under you, coming all the way down onto your elbows, or even to make a pillow with your hand and laying your head down. If you are good here, stay where you're at. If you're very, very uncomfortable doing that pose and have tight hips, you can always sit up or even sit up at a wall, bringing your right foot over your left ankle and walking your left foot in as close as feels comfortable to find that stretch below your thigh. This is always an option, really, in any yoga class. And pigeon can be a really frustrating and intimidating pose if you have tight hips and tight thighs. So find whatever feels good, and we'll stay here for about 30 seconds. We're going to come out of pigeon, slowly lifting ourselves up. If that was something you felt like staying in longer, feel free to stay there while we work on some other stretches. If you're ready to switch to the other side, lifting your left foot up like plank, and then bring that right foot back to meet and switch. Seeing what feels good on that side. There's always one side that's a little bit more flexible, so seeing what props or support you might need. And taking your time to find some space, some length in your front torso, and some bend in your lower back before coming all the way down for the stretch. Seeing if you can hold yourself up without any hands. And then keeping that length and strength while you come down to stretch out your left hip. Three more long, deep breaths here. Slowly on your next inhale, walking yourself up, stretching that left foot behind you, finding yourselves on tabletop, wiggling out what you need to wiggle out. And then we're going to do one more stretch up before we come on our backs. So we're going to come back to Thunderbolt again, where our feet are underneath our seat. Coming up, nice and tall, and bringing that right foot out and to the side, kind of like you would in Warrior Two, where your foot is parallel to the end of the mat to kickstand you from sliding out. Hands on your hips. And then we're going to stretch to the side that our leg is at. Using our hand to guide us. Make sure we don't tip over. Seeing if we can rotate so that we're almost looking up to the ceiling. Finding a little more stretch in the front of our left side. And then on our next inhale, floating our arms to bring us up. Bring that knee in. And switching for the other side, bring the left foot out parallel to mat. Hands on hips. And then bring that right arm again up and over as far as feels comfortable without falling over. Seeing how much we can have an even, smooth breath. And that might mean coming out of the pose a little bit. If going so far holds our breath. Inhaling, bring your arms up again, knees together. And then falling to one side or the other so that you can come onto your butt with your feet in front of you. We're just going to do 2 bridge poses before stretching into recline bound angle. So coming down all the way on our backs, bringing our feet to our butts so that we can at least reach our fingertips somewhere close. If you can't get close, just keeping in mind to make sure that your knees don't splay out to the sides, because that can really hurt your lower back. So as close as you get to your fingertips. And then on the inhale, lifting your hips, hip bones to the sky. Allowing your chin to rest onto your collarbone, letting your neck be long. Two more long, deep breaths here. Lowering down on your next exhale. Windshield wiping your knees to the left and right. Coming back up for a second lift. Realigning your heels again close to your fingertips. And then on your next inhale, lifting up. Noticing if you're using a lot of neck and core muscles to lift you, and try to release that a little bit to use the muscles in the front of your hips and the tops of your thighs. When you do that, you release your lower back muscles and allow them to be in more of a restorative pose. And on your next exhale, dropping down, windshield wiping your knees again. When your knees come back to neutral the next time, we're just going to bring our knees into our chest together. So both knees into your chest, holding the fronts of your knees. And we're going to stretch out our right leg straight as possible, holding in our left knee nice and tight for a stretch. And then slowly switching to bring your right knee in and your left knee straight. And continue to go back and forth. This is just to balance out your hips, release your lower back. Not necessarily meant to be a core workout. The next time that your knees both come in together, holding them in and rocking left to right. If you like to move to happy baby, you're welcome to do that, or even just bring your heels up to the sky and hold the backs of your thighs if you can't quite reach your shins or your ankles.
And we've all had friends who did not make it towards the end. They fell
2 more breaths here.
Oh, I wish I could make amends.
Before going into our Shavasana, I want you to feel free to do whatever you need to do. If there's something you've done at the end of practice, like plow or shoulder, and you like to do that, you're welcome to. Anything that you might need as a last stretch before lying flat for Shavasana. I think our Zoom will kick off when it hits 7 o'clock in 2 minutes. So I'm just gonna put on some restorative music. I will log back in myself, but don't feel pressured to do that unless you wanna say hello or ask anything about yoga classes through Roots to Rise. If you're in a position to donate $5, feel free to do that through our Venmo. That's all on our Instagram. And if you're not, then I'm really just glad you came to class today. Enjoy your Shavasana. A little bit of relaxing music.
Slowly finding a little bit of a deeper breath to bring you back to some movement in your body, whether it's rolling your ankles and your wrists, maybe starting to wiggle your legs or nod your head. And if you feel comfortable keeping your eyes closed, rolling over to your right side, using your left arm outstretched as a pillow, and putting your right arm, I'm on the wrong side, putting your left hand on the ground. Slowly lifting yourself up to a seat. Keeping your eyes down to the ground or closed, or finding some length again in your spine. And if you feel comfortable, bringing your hands to heart center as a sign of gratitude for yourself for taking some time today. Taking time for your body and your spirit, maybe a break from what you were doing before. And in practicing with other people, creating space for them to do the same thing. In yoga, we say namaste at the end of class, which really just means the light in me sees the light in you and recognizes that and honors it. Namaste. Thank you for coming to class. We have a lot of classes all week long throughout Monday through Saturday through Roots to Rise. So if you've never practiced again, check it out on Instagram and Facebook. There's classes at like 2, 6, all different times. A couple of them are even classes you can take with family. So yeah.